Okay, so hopefully you can hear this. And for FRQ miscellaneous, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Things that I noticed from the FRQs that are key to point out. There's just two things I would note from the Unit 5 FRQ. So the first one is for first order reaction, half-life is independent of the starting amount of reactant. And keep in mind that AP Chem only covers first order half-life problems. So for example, if you see something like this, okay, and it's talking about half-life, you automatically know that it must be first order. So if you see any questions with constant half-lives, you can say that you know the reaction is first order because the half-life is consistent. That's even an okay AP Chem answer, saying, I know this is first order because the half-life is consistent. That is acceptable. So just keep that in mind. Half-life must be first order. And if you're determining if something is first order, you can either use that as time changes at consistent intervals, then the ln of the concentration of the reactant changes at consistent intervals. That is fine. And or you can say, well, the half-life is consistent, so therefore I know that it's first order. So either of those methods are fine. This doesn't mean that you can't use the ln of x to determine its first order, but you can also use the half-life. Okay, the second thing of the two, again, there's not a whole lot to mention that I feel weren't mentioned in other videos, but remember that the k also equals the slope of the graph. So also another way to know the units of k is that they equal the slope of the graph. Okay? So I had a video where I was explaining a lot of different ways that you can understand what the value for k would be. So this is just another way. If you think about, okay, what would the units be based on the slope of the graph, that can tell you what k would be. Let me explain. So for example here, concentration over time. So what are the units of k? Well, the slope is going to be y over x. As I learned when I was in 7th grade, the rise over the run, the rise over the run. Okay, y over x. And so then it's going to be molar concentration divided by time. And you can see the units here. Then for first order, ln of concentration divided by the time. And if you take the ln of the concentration, it becomes unitless. You want an explanation of that? Go ask your math teacher, okay, about why does the natural log of something make it unitless. Go ask Miss Claus or whoever your math teacher is. But if you take the natural log of the concentration, that then becomes unitless. And so then you have a unitless something divided by time. And so for first order, we're just left with divided by the time. Okay? Then for second order, we have 1 over the concentration, in other words, concentration -1, divided by time. So that becomes molarity -1, time -1. So you can see this is just one more way to keep in mind what the units of k must be. If graphically you like the graphical visual, well, there you go. You can just be, what would the graph look like again? Oh yeah, that tells me what the units are. The only kind of weird thing is remembering that the ln of something makes it unitless. At least that's weird to me, but there you go. And also, along those lines, AP Chem sometimes likes it for you to keep in mind to know that k would be negative for zero order and first order graphs. So for zero order, that makes a lot of sense in that you have concentration, and you can see, right, as concentration goes down over time. So of course k is going to be negative. But also know that for first order graph, not only is it going to be linear, but it's also the k value is going to be negative as well. So when you take the ln of the concentration and the concentrations are becoming less, it doesn't matter, you're taking ln, k is still negative. This is different than second order, k will be positive. That should make sense because the concentrations are getting smaller over time, but you're taking the inverse of it, so the resulting number, actually gets bigger. And so you can see notes here on keeping in mind what the units would be for 0th, 1st, and 2nd order based on looking at the graphs, and then also notice that k is negative for 0th and 1st order and positive for 2nd order, which is sometimes nice to keep in mind answering some of these problems. Those are the only things I had to go over that I felt are miscellaneous things to point out after observing the FRQs that we haven't talked about elsewhere.